When family, money, and trust collide under one roof, even the strongest bonds can crumble. What started as a sister's act of kindness soon turned into a bitter courtroom battle, where Judge Judy was ready to cut through the excuses and find the truth. Amanda thought she was doing the right thing. She was 24, married and raising 2 little girls, Madeline, 3.5, and baby Ileana, just 10 months old. Her husband Todd worked long hours as a heavy equipment operator, and Amanda managed the front desk at a hotel. They weren't rich, but they were doing fine, keeping up with bills and rent, and trying to give their daughters a safe home. When her younger brother Brandon and his girlfriend Nicole needed a place to stay, Amanda didn't hesitate. Family helps family. That was how she was raised. Brandon was only 20, still trying to find his way in the world. He had been on his own since he was 17. Their mother had died when he was 15, and he'd lost touch with his stepdad. Life hadn't been kind to him. Nicole, his girlfriend of 6 months, was also 20. She worked as a cashier at Buffalo Wild Wings, while Brandon operated CNC machinery at a local shop. They were young, in love, and trying to get by. When Amanda and Todd offered them a place to live, it felt like a blessing. They thought they were getting a temporary break, a few months to save money and plan for the future. At first, everything seemed fine. Amanda decided to move her family into a bigger place, a 3-bedroom house with an unfinished basement. The plan was simple. Amanda and Todd would take 1 bedroom, their 2 daughters would share another, and Brandon and Nicole could have the 3rd. But as with many family arrangements, what's promised and what's understood aren't always the same. During the walkthrough, Amanda offered Nicole the upstairs room, close to the bathroom. But Brandon declined. He wanted quiet, privacy, and distance from the kids. So they chose the basement, a cold, unfinished space with concrete floors, drywall walls, and the lingering smell of cat urine. It wasn't ideal, but it was private, and that's what they wanted. They cleaned it up, moved in their things, and tried to make it home. For a short time, the house felt full of life. 4 adults, 2 toddlers, laughter, the sound of dishes clattering, and the hum of daily life. But soon cracks began to show. The basement wasn't comfortable, and Nicole, pregnant and emotional, began to feel neglected. The noise upstairs, the baby crying, and Amanda's firm household rules became too much. She missed her family in Minnesota and wanted to be around people who wouldn't lecture her. Amanda, juggling work, motherhood, and bills, grew frustrated with what she saw as childish behavior and lack of responsibility. Every little disagreement turned into a bigger fight. Brandon later claimed that Amanda had told them their stay would only be temporary, that they were just signing the lease so the landlord would know who lived there. He said she took pictures of their driver's licenses and sent them to the landlord herself, rushing the paperwork without giving them time to read anything. In his mind, he wasn't signing a binding contract. He was just helping out his sister with some formality. Amanda, on the other hand, insisted that everyone understood the deal. The lease was real, the rent was real, and so was the commitment. According to her, they couldn't afford the new house without Brandon and Nicole contributing $500 a month. Without them, she and Todd would have stayed in their old, smaller home. Tension built day by day. Nicole didn't like feeling watched or advised, especially while she was pregnant. She said Amanda and Todd lectured her constantly and never helped her when she needed it. Amanda said she offered help, but Nicole was too proud or too moody to accept it. The truth, as Judge Judy would later say, was probably somewhere in between. Eventually, Nicole had enough. She wanted to move back in with her parents. Brandon agreed. They packed up and left on July 31st. Amanda and Todd were stunned. They hadn't seen it coming, and now they were stuck paying full rent on a house they had chosen specifically for 4 adults. When August's rent came due and there was no contribution from Brandon or Nicole, Amanda realized the situation was serious. The $500 they had promised each month was gone, and her own paycheck couldn't stretch far enough. Bills piled up and resentment grew. To Amanda, it wasn't just about money, it was betrayal. When the case came before Judge Judy, both sides had their version of the story ready. Amanda sat straight, her voice calm but edged with frustration. Brandon, slouched slightly beside Nicole, seemed nervous. Judy began, as always, by establishing facts. Who was related to whom? Who worked? Who paid what? Amanda described her family, her job, and how she had managed childcare through relatives and neighbors. Brandon and Nicole explained their situation. Young, working, barely making ends meet. Nicole's pregnancy came up and Judge Judy raised an eyebrow. That's not a reason to break your lease, she said flatly. Brandon argued that they didn't even know what they were signing, that Amanda had taken pictures of their IDs and said the landlord just needed to know who was living there. Judge Judy wasn't buying it. Didn't you read the lease? She pressed. Brandon stammered. She didn't give us time. Judy's eyes narrowed. You're 20 years old. You can't blame someone else for your signature. If you didn't read it, that's your problem. Amanda explained that the rent for the new place was higher, and they had only agreed to take it because Brandon and Nicole had promised to share costs. Without them, Your Honor, we would have stayed where we were. To her, the logic was simple. They signed the lease, they lived there, and they left early. That meant they owed rent. Nicole jumped in, her voice shaking with emotion. She said they had been promised a livable room but were forced into a cold, unfinished basement that smelled like cats. It was concrete floors, loud laundry machines, nothing like a real bedroom, she said. We didn't even want to move in there. Judge Judy listened carefully but unmoved. You chose that room, she reminded them. Your sister offered you an upstairs bedroom. You wanted privacy. You got it. Nicole bit her lip, realizing that argument wouldn't hold. Then came the emotional outburst. Nicole said she had been kicked out multiple times and had text messages to prove it. Judy waved it off. You left, she said firmly. There's nothing in your answer suggesting they kicked you out. Her tone was decisive. Years of experience cutting through family drama to the simple truth. Amanda presented her claim for back rent. $500 for August, $500 for September, plus a small unpaid balance from July. In total, about $1,640, but she asked for $1,000 to keep things reasonable. She mentioned she was trying to rent out the empty room but hadn't found anyone yet. Brandon admitted they hadn't paid August or September. Judy didn't need to hear more. Her ruling was swift and sharp. I'm awarding you $1,000. That covers 2 months' rent. Either find a new roommate or learn to live there on your own. Then, turning to Brandon and Nicole, she added, You're young, and you'll learn. But being young doesn't excuse breaking a contract. You didn't read the lease, that's on you. You moved because your girlfriend was pregnant and wanted to go home, not because your sister did you wrong. Nicole tried to speak again, but Judy raised her hand. That's all, she said. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. With that, the gavel came down metaphorically, and the case was closed. Outside the courtroom, the air felt heavier. Amanda and Todd stood together, relieved but not happy. Winning the case didn't erase the hurt. Family fights cut deeper than any stranger's betrayal. Brandon and Nicole walked out quietly, hand in hand, perhaps realizing that pride had cost them more than $1,000. It had cost them peace with family. For Amanda, the lesson was painful but clear. Helping family was noble, but mixing family with financial responsibility could destroy relationships. She had opened her home out of love, and it ended in bitterness. For Brandon and Nicole, it was a wake-up call about adulthood, about reading what you sign, taking responsibility, and understanding that good intentions don't pay the rent. Judge Judy's courtroom wasn't just a place for legal arguments. It was a mirror reflecting human behavior, how small misunderstandings and unspoken assumptions can explode into full-blown conflict. In her usual style, she stripped away the emotions and excuses, reminding everyone that fairness doesn't always mean forgiveness. As the cameras stopped rolling and the audience filed out, the lesson lingered. Kindness without clarity can turn into chaos. And in the eyes of the law, and Judge Judy, being family doesn't mean being free from accountability.